In the annals of cult film infamy, few films are more reviled and revered than Tom Six's The Human Centipede. It's gruesome, it's gory, and it has people sewn together butt to mouth. But is it really as gross as its reputation would lead you to believe? Let's find out. Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek because I believe splatter matters. I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, and today we're exploring Tom Six's controversial classic, The Human Centipede. Released back in 2009, Six's film has a well-earned reputation for being one of the most gruesome and disgusting titles to emerge in the 21st century. The premise, wherein a mad doctor connects three people together, ass to mouth, was billed as 100% medically accurate, even if it's not medically plausible. Which is something we'll talk more about later in this video. Putting aside all the hoopla surrounding this movie, there's one question that remains 10 years after its initial release. Is The Human Centipede as gross as people make it out to be? We'll know for sure when we score it on the gore card later, but for now, let's get to the gore. The film opens with a shot of this random roadway and some credits. Dieter laser? That sounds like some tool they'd use on my 600-pound life. Okay, I know his name is Dieter, but a joke's a joke. Ashley Williams? Wait, is this an Evil Dead movie? We eventually wind up in this parked Mercedes where a man appears to be crying over a photo of a dog sniffing another dog's ass. Look, don't judge. It's like their version of the handshake. As a truck pulls up, we learn that he's got another picture. This time it's 3 dogs. That's like a daisy chain of dogs, or as I like to call it, the canine centipede. Do you think this guy in the Mercedes is going to do something nefarious to that truck driver? Does a truck driver shit in the woods? Well, this one tries to. Also, this movie is really obsessed with pooping. Mercedes guy, whose name is actually Dr. Hyder, grabs his rifle and sets off to hunt the most dangerous game of all, the defecating trucker. I hope he brought a bag to clean up all that poop. Dr. Hyder takes aim, and then we get the title card. There are 3 Human Centipede movies. First sequence, full sequence, and final sequence. They get more outrageous as they go. Next, we cut to these 2 American girls in a hotel. Good call on actually going to a hotel and not a hostel. One letter really can make a difference. They're looking for directions to a nightclub.
Yes, I was wondering if I could get driving directions to a nightclub called Bunker.
I bet David Hasselhoff's doing a show there. I mean, is there any other reason to go to Germany than to catch the Hoff performing live? They hit the road and immediately get lost in this crazy Bavarian forest.
I'm sorry, I just don't know where we are.
Guess you should have used Google Maps, ladies. Being lost in the woods is bad enough, but things get worse when they blow a tire. They're gonna call the rental car company, but if you guess there's no cell signal, give yourself a screenwriter's credit.
There's always a signal.
Not out here in the middle of nowhere.
Naturally, neither of these 2 know how to change a tire, but I'm not gonna give them crap for that, because neither do I. What? I have roadside assistance. They're busy debating what to do when some headlights appear. Hooray! They're saved. Too bad for them, this guy doesn't speak English. Or maybe it's not too bad, because he's an old perv.
Ruhig ficken? Was hältst du davon?
Ficken. Fucking. He said fucking.
Okay.
Roll your window up.
Huh, I had no idea ficken was German for fucking. See, this movie not only has entertainment, but also educational value. These ladies might not understand what this dude is saying, but the old leering tongue wag is pretty much universal. Look, they need a tire changed, man, not a rim job. After the dude drives off, they decide to hoof it for help. Not the greatest idea, but they don't exactly have a lot of other options. Wandering through the woods in Germany. Maybe they'll run into the girl fleeing the dance academy at the start of Suspiria. They're totally lost in the woods, which is even worse than being lost on the road, when they find a house. They're saved. Hooray again. If you guess this is crazy Dr. Hyder's house, give yourself a second screenwriter's credit. They ring the bell and the good doctor shows up and gives them an appraising look. Yeah, this doesn't seem ominous at all. I was hoping to make a human centipede, but you 2 look like raccoons. I guess it could work. The creepy vibe only gets worse when the first thing out of Dr. Hyder's mouth is this. No, I'm not creepy at all. Hyder's a gracious host. Come in, warm up by the fire. Let me make you a roofie cocktail. I mean a drink. Lindsay and Jenny here aren't the sharpest blades on the razor, but they're still finding all of this pretty weird. Hyder fakes a call to the cab company, then settles in and waits for his roofie water to take effect.
You have a really lovely home.
Yeah, I mean, this conjoined twin artwork on the wall really ties the room together. Hyder's an odd duck for sure, but he and I definitely have this in common.
I don't like human beings.
Things are going great until Lindsay here spills her drink. Not on the Persian rug. That thing's worth more than your car. He then heads off to grab a towel. By this point, Lindsay's seen enough.
We need to get out of here right now.
Maybe wandering lost through the woods or dealing with the German pervs on the side of the road isn't so bad after all. Hyder's not really getting her a towel. He's wandered down to his underground medical bunker. What is it with German villains and underground bunkers anyway? Hyder does return with a towel, but he's all out of hospitality. Jenny's passing out on the couch, and the doctor reveals he's given her Rohypnol. He sounds like one of those drug commercials you see on TV. Discontinue using Rohypnol if you experience
Drowsiness, dizziness, disorientation, and memory loss.
Lindsay tries to escape, but she's had enough of the drug so that it's affecting her too. Hyder finishes her off with the syringe. Looks like maybe he finished himself off too there. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. The next morning, Lindsay wakes up to find that she and Jenny are in Hyder's makeshift hospital ward, strapped to their beds. They're not alone though. Remember that trucker from earlier? He's still in this movie. He's strapped to the third bed. Eventually, the good doctor shows up, and he's got a bad prognosis for the trucker.
You don't match. Have to kill you.
Down a man, Hyder goes on another hunting trip, and he bags him a Japanese guy named Katsuro, who looks to be a much better match for his burgeoning science fair project. With everyone now secured in the bunker, the doctor's ready to start his human centipede. You sure do got a purty mouth. But before we begin, here's my PowerPoint on what I'm going to do to you. One of the crazy selling points of the human centipede was that it was 100% medically accurate. And man, trying to verify that will send you down some weird rabbit holes where people argue about the merits of eating poop. Anyway, I'm not a doctor, but here's what doctors think on the topic. While this is technically an accurate description of a medical procedure, it's not a medically possible procedure unless you want to kill people. There's a whole list of problems here. The victims could get sepsis from eating the poop. Eating poop would also probably cause them to vomit, and where is all that puke gonna go? They're likely to aspirate at least some of it, which is more bad news. They could also simply suffocate too. You can't really mouth breathe here, so if you get plugged up sinuses from crying, things could get real bad real fast. Then there's ripping out the staples from vomiting or crying or just moving, which could lead to death from blood loss or infection. So, 100% medically accurate? I'll give them that. 100% medically possible or probable? Highly unlikely. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. With the exposition out of the way, the doctor can get down to business. Lindsay realizes they're screwed, so she finally figures out she can use her mouth to undo her restraints. She makes a break for it, ripping out her IV in a really gnarly way, but is trapped inside the house. She locks herself in a bedroom, and Hyder makes some threats about what he's going to do to her if she doesn't open the door.
I'll pull your teeth out one by one without any anesthesia.
Things go quiet, and she's ready to make her escape by busting through a window, but surprise! Hyder is there with his rifle. He busts in the window, and she flees again. Man, this is no time for a swim. Hyder's gonna shoot her like she's a fish in a barrel, or a human centipede segment in a pool. He doesn't, though, instead taking time to explain what her punishment will be for this little escapade.
I know definitely. You are the middle piece.
The doctor eventually forces her hand by turning on the pool cover, but it overloads his fuse box. It's probably because he left that overhead projector on downstairs. Lindsay heads for the freedom promised by the busted out window, but you know she's gonna make the classic horror film heroine mistake and go back for Jenny, right? She gets her out of the bed, but Jenny's a real drag. Somehow she eventually manages to get her out of the broken window, but you know it can't be this easy, right? Of course you do. As she struggles to pull Jenny back to the woods, Lindsay's nailed by one of those tranquilizer darts and goes down like a 12-point buck. Back inside, Hyder gets this party started. He's plucking teeth and cutting butts like he's a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon. Then we finally get to see the fruits of his labor. That's right, 50 minutes into the movie, we're finally allowed to see the human centipede. Hyder's very excited about his achievement.
Yeah!
Yeah, you sure did. I'm not sure what the point of this is, but you have successfully sewed people together ass to mouth. That's gonna look great on your resume. Then he snaps some photos. Man, I'm gonna get so many likes on Instagram. Hyder keeps them in an extended kennel cage when he's not marveling over them. Jenny and Lindsay realize their plight. I'm stunned Tom Six didn't put Stuck in the Middle with You on the soundtrack here. Talk about your missed opportunities. Later, Hyder takes his new pet out and starts training it like a dog.
Take the word and bring it to me. Yeah, good boy.
So basically, he sewed these people together so they could fetch him a newspaper. This seems like a lot of work for minimal return on investment. Then he feeds Katsuro, which can't possibly be good news for Lindsay or Jenny. The next day, we come to one of the film's most infamous scenes. Training continues on the lawn. Remember that dinner from last night? Well, what goes in must eventually come out, much to Lindsay's dismay. Katsuro's like, eat shit, ladies. Hyder's super excited about this turn of events.
Feed her! Feed her!
In another scene, Hyder brings his pet in for a checkup. Not only is this dude a surgeon, but he's also a veterinarian, apparently. Turns out Lindsay's constipated. Who knew that living on a steady diet of crap would plug you up? And Jenny, meanwhile, has a bad infection at the site of her facial surgery. Probably that sepsis I mentioned earlier. Looks like something straight out of Dr. Pimple Popper. The examination is cut short by a ringing doorbell. Who could it be? Oh, it's the cops. German, Starsky, and Hutch here have some questions for the good doctor. Seems people have gone missing near his house.
Alter, wir haben Vermisste. Die Fahrzeuge wurden hier in der Gegend gefunden.
He offers them some roofie water and they accept. The centipede is downstairs screaming, but clearly the room is soundproofed and no one can hear them. Back upstairs, the cops confront him with some evidence and Hyder flips his shit. No, I'm not guilty at all. This is totally how innocent people act. After making some threats and having his drink spilled, he's back to the old I'll get a towel trick. I mean, I guess it worked once. Might as well stick with it, right? While he's downstairs getting his syringe ready, he takes a moment to give the audience an exposition injection. Seems he's about to turn this centipede into a quadruplet. Jenny's gonna head to the big human centipede farm in the sky and be replaced by these two cops. While Hyder's preoccupied with the cops, he forgets to put all his tools away. Uh-oh, this centipede was already armed, but now it's dangerous. While arguing with the lead cop, Hyder slips up and drops the syringe. But being quick on his feet, he tells them it's nothing nefarious, he's just a diabetic.
Was ist das?
Das. Insulin. Für meine Diabetes mellitus.
He manages to finally get rid of the cops, but they're coming back with a search warrant. So he rushes back downstairs to prepare, but his centipede is gone. After some cat and centipede, Hyder's creation strikes, stabbing him in the foot and the leg, then biting a chunk out of his neck. Tastes like bratwurst. I hate bratwurst. Unfortunately, they make the classic horror film mistake of not actually finishing off the villain. Instead, they make a break for it. Hyder would be so proud of how they were walking if he wasn't busy trying to put that piece of his neck back in. The centipede looks pretty unstoppable, until they hit the human centipede's one natural enemy, stairs.
Stairs? No!
Everybody's faces and asses are separating as the strain of moving this unholy beast up the stairs takes its toll. And yeah, this sequence is moderately gross. Don't look now, but Hyder's centipeding himself up the stairs in slow pursuit. But first, I gotta make sure I'm on the right trail by licking up some of this blood. Yeah, that's my human centipede, alright. Tastes like chicken and poop. Lindsay directs them back to the bedroom, but the glass has been replaced, and really, even if they break it, how are they gonna get over that ledge? Before we can find out, Hyder slinks his way in. Looks like we're gonna get a mad doctor / human centipede showdown. Except that rather than fight to the death, Katsuro gives us a monologue about how he's an awful human being anyway, and then slices his own throat. Sure. Okay. I'll go with that. Guess we're gonna need more centipede segments. Also, you know, people usually void their bowels when they die. Just saying. Enjoy your last meal, Lindsay. Hyder's ready to deal with the situation, but the cops are back at his door. He heads for the pool while the cops search the place after letting themselves in. Because it's now totally convenient to the plot, the cop who drank the water is starting to succumb to the Rohypnol. The other cop finds the centipede, then rushes off to find his partner, who's dead in the pool thanks to Hyder. Oh, and Hyder's got a gun, and wastes the second cop. But not before he returns fire, creating some sweet new artwork on the wall behind Hyder's head. Back in the room, Lindsay and Jenny are still alive, but Jenny's in bad shape and eventually dies, leaving Lindsay alone in a house of dead people, sewed to 2 corpses. Well, that's uplifting. For a film often listed as one of the most disgusting movies ever made, The Human Centipede is surprisingly restrained when it comes to showing actual gore. Hell, for all its hype about coprophagia, which is the technical name for eating poop, there's not even so much as a brown smear on anyone's face. Solo's poop eating remains far more disturbing, and that film's almost 45 years old. Director Tom Six's feature isn't the gore fest you might have expected, or in my case hoped for, but the film does earn its reputation based on the gross ideas at play. Having your face sewn to someone's ass is definitely not something most people would sign up for, and the idea of being forced to live off eating excrement is definitely disgusting. The film repulses you with these ideas, but takes a long time to get to the actual execution, and when it doesn't really have much else to offer. Hyder builds his human centipede and then basically just teaches it to be a dog. What's the point? It's proof that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. In terms of gross anatomy, the human centipede offers us a few goodies. There's the teeth removal and butt excision in the surgery scene, a pus-filled infection, a gunshot to the head, a throat slash, and multiple stabbings. It's fairly graphic by mainstream standards, but there's nothing here my fellow gore geeks haven't seen before. And because of that, the human centipede earns 3 barf bags out of 5. And in answer to the question posed at the start of this video, the human centipede isn't as gruesome as its reputation would have you believe. It gets more mileage out of making the audience think about eating feces than it does actually showing anything all that gross. Is the human centipede gross? Sure. But it's hardly the unwatchable epic of perversion its marketing would have you believe it is. If you want to see something genuinely gross and gory and over the top and filled with the same Cronenbergian themes of body horror, check out my review of Tokyo Gore Police. There's a link to it here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.